أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu and welcome to our class today. I hope and pray that everyone is doing very well. Jazakumullah to everyone for joining our class on time. Please ensure that you have done wudu before you enter the classroom today and that your heads are covered appropriately. Can we also please request you all to sit in a nice and quiet place and also to ensure that you are logged in today with your correct IDs, because otherwise you may find yourself in the waiting room if your IDs are incorrect. Jazakumullah. We'll start today with our opening prayer. If you could have a student on the mic, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Could we have G1515?
Jazakumullah. G1515. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. We're going to start with Dawood. So please repeat after me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Good. When you join this noon to the sheen, okay, so make sure you do it with force. Nashay.
Nashay.
Yeah, well done. Okay, so rather than saying nashay, we're going to say nashay. So we're going to do it with force. So one more time. Try that again.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Perfect. Well done. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Good. Well done. And could you read the translation of Dawood first?
I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the rejected.
And Tasmiyah?
In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful.
Good. Well done. And this is Tuesday's dua. So let's read this. Rabbi zidni ilma.
Rabbi zidni ilma.
Good. The ba has a kasra. So our sound needs to go downwards. Okay. Rabbi.
Rabbi.
Good. Well done. So rather than saying Rabbi, we're saying Rabbi downwards. Okay. Like an I. Rabbi. Rabbi zidni ilma.
Rabbi zidni ilma.
Excellent. And the translation?
Oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge.
And what's the reference? Yeah.
Taha 115.
Excellent. Surah Taha from the Holy Quran, verse 115. Excellent. Jazakumullah for reading that for us today. Okay. And okay, so before we move on to talk about what we're learning today, I just wanted to give a quick announcement. As you all know, tomorrow we are having a Jalsa Siratul Nabi in class tomorrow, inshallah. And we've requested you all to have a look at the questions that are going to be asked in the quiz tomorrow. Okay, so there's a quiz tomorrow taking place in which we are going to ask you 15 questions. Now, we provided you with all those questions beforehand with the aim that everyone will come prepared. So G1 is all about learning and increasing our knowledge. So we would like you to please have a look at these questions before coming to class tomorrow so that you are ready for the quiz. Now, these are the questions, 15 questions in total, and all the answers for these questions can be found in the book Basics of Religious Education, which for the link is over here. Okay, now this PDF is available on the Google Drive link, and I would like my co-host to kindly provide that link in the chat now. So you can all access that link now through the chat by clicking on it, and then this PDF is available there for you to have a look at. and start having a look at the answers for tomorrow's questions as well, if you haven't done so already. So that was just a quick announcement. Please be ready for tomorrow's class. Jazakumullah. Now, in today's class, we are going to focus on lesson number 22, which is the title for this lesson is Miscellaneous Rules, Alif Zaida. Okay, and in today's class, we'll be looking at exercise 22.1. And the material for this can be found on page 88 of your books. So that's for the first half of today's class. We're going to be looking at exercise 22.1, focusing on the rule of Alif Zaida. And then in the second half of today's class, we are going to focus on the correct pronunciation of Surah Al-Kawthar from the Holy Quran. Okay, so that's the agenda for today. Okay, so this is lesson number 22, and we are going to focus on exercise 22.1 in today's class, inshallah. So the rule is, some words in the Holy Quran contain a blank alif that is found after a maftuh letter, either in between or at the end of a word. Now, what this rule is telling us is that sometimes when we're reading the Holy Quran, we will see a blank alif that comes after a letter with a fatha on it. So maftuh letter, as you should all know, is a letter with a fatha on it. And this blank alif will be found either in between a word or at the end of a word. Now, this blank alif must not be pronounced. They are called alif zaida, or in English it's known as excessive alif, and are usually marked with a cross or a sukoon. So this blank alif that comes after a maftuh letter and can be found in between a word or at the end of a word, these blank alifs are called alif zaida or excessive alif. And to indicate that this is an alif zaida in the Holy Quran, to help us, we are usually given a small cross on top of that alif or a sukoon on top of that alif to indicate that this is an alif zaida and it should not be pronounced. The words alif zaida are also written in the margin to indicate this rule. So when you're reading the Holy Quran and an alif zaida comes, now on that line where the alif zaida is coming, in that margin next to that, you will have the words alif zaida written in Arabic, and that will also be an indication to us that we should not pronounce that alif zaida with a cross on it or a sukoon on top of it. Okay, so that is the rule that we're focusing on today. In exercise 22.1, we are looking at examples from the Holy Quran where alif zaida is found at the end of a word. Okay, so just as I mentioned, sometimes alif zaida comes at the end of a word, but it also may come in between a word. And inshallah, on Thursday's class, you'll be looking at examples of those. But today we are looking at where alif zaida comes at the end of a word. Now in this exercise, you can see that there are three main columns. This column, and this column. Now in this first column over here, we have the example from the Holy Quran written in its original form. So this is how you would find it written in the Holy Quran. And you can see that the alif zaida, for the purpose of this exercise, is highlighted in red for us. So you can see that we have an alif, a blank alif, that comes after a letter with a fatha on it. Sorry, can I just confirm you can hear me? Assalamu alaikum, display in charge, can you hear me? Okay, let me ask a student quickly. G1 515, can you hear me please? Can you unmute and let me know?
We can hear you.
All right, brilliant, that's fine. Jazakumullah for confirming that for me. Okay, so this is how it's written in the Holy Quran. Okay, so alif zaida is found at the end of the word. Now, to help us in this exercise and to indicate how we should actually read that word, because as we know, wherever we see an alif zaida, it should not be pronounced. So in this second column over here, we can see that it's written how we should pronounce it. So this is how you would find it in the Holy Quran, but this is actually how we pronounce it. So you can see that the alif at the end, the alif zaida, has been removed, and it indicates that we do not pronounce it. So this is when we are reading this word in continuity. So if we are reading it as normal in a verse, and we're going on to read the next word as well, then this would be in continuity how we would read it. Now in this next column, this is written how we would read it when we're pausing. So if after this word over here in the Holy Quran, we are taking a pause, in this column, it's shown how we should recite that. And of course, when we're pausing, we need to be careful of the rules of waqf, the rules of pausing, and we need to apply that correctly. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are now going to have students on the mic, and we'll go through some examples from this exercise. Okay. So let's have a student to the mic. Discipline in charge, are you in class? Okay, let me choose a student quickly. Can we have G1515 to the mic again, please?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Okay, so just bear with me for one moment. Okay, so we're going to go through this exercise. Okay, so let's go through the first example. Over here, we can see this is the word from the Holy Quran. And do you remember what I said? Where is the alif zaida? Can you point it out for me?
It's at the end of the word.
At the end of the word. Yes, brilliant. So this is the alif zaida, and it should not be pronounced when we are reading this word. So this is how we should pronounce it in continuity. So we would read it as أو يعفو. Can you repeat that for me, please?
Oh, yeah. Fua.
Brilliant. Well done. So we're ending the sound with the waw with the fatha on top. Okay, one more time. أو يعفو.
Oh, yeah. Fua.
Brilliant. Well done. Excellent. Now, if we're stopping or taking a pause after this word, what will happen is we have to apply the rules of waqf. And the rules of waqf says that if the last letter is a fatha, then that fatha will turn into a sukoon. So we can see over here that the waw now has a sukoon on it. So we have to elongate our sound of the fu for 2 counts because this has become a waw mud now. Okay, so we are going to say أو يعفو.
Oh, yeah. Foo.
Brilliant. Well done. Excellent. Okay, so we can all hear how our sound changes. So we need to be careful to first of all identify the alif zaida and then emit it or take it out from our pronunciation. And then depending on if we're reading it in continuity or whilst pausing, then we need to apply the correct rule to it. Okay, so let's have a look at another rule, example. So this is the second example. This is how it is written in the Holy Quran. Can you tell me where the alif zaida is over here?
It's at the end.
At the end, yes, we have an alif at the end. As you can see over here, it's highlighted in red for us to help us. And this is how you would find it in the Holy Quran. So the alif zaida tells us that we should not pronounce that alif. So we are going to pronounce it like this. So we are going to say Umamul tatluwa.
Ummamun li tatluma.
Okay, good, well done. Now over here in the middle, you can see that we have a meme with a dhammatain and then a lam mushaddad next to that. Okay, so this is the rule that we've learned last week on idgham kamil to be more precise, where we have to emit the sound of the nasal sound and we straight away join the meme to the lam, and we only pronounce one of the dhamma. So we say mulli.
mulli.
Good. Umamulli.
Mulli.
Tatluwa.
Tatluwa.
Brilliant. Well done. Umamulli tatluwa.
Mulli tatmula.
Luwa. Good. Well
Lua.
done. Excellent. Let's try that one more time. Umamulli tatluwa.
Lum tatluma.
Okay. Now look at the word carefully, okay? Umamulli
Lummi.
mulli.
Mulli.
Yeah, the meme comes before the lam. Mulli.
Mulli.
Tatluwa.
Tatlua.
Good, well done. So it's a bit of a longer word, but what I want you to do is just split it first and then try and join the two together. Okay, well done, excellent. Now, if we're pausing after this word, what would happen is that this fatha will become a sukoon. So now this would become umamulli tatlu.
Mul tatlu.
Umamulli
Mulli
tatlu.
tatlu.
Okay, excellent. Umamulli tatlu.
Mulli tatmu.
Tatlu.
Tatlu.
Excellent. Good. Well done. Okay. So just keep practicing this example in particular because it's a bit of a tongue twister as well. So we need to just keep on practicing it so that we can get it right. Okay. So one more time. Umamulli tatlu.
Mulli tatlu.
Umamulli
Mulli
tatlu.
tatlu.
Brilliant. Good. Well done. Excellent. Okay, so just keep practicing that. But mashallah, you've done really well. Jazakumullah for your help. Can we have another student to the mic, please?
Yes, G1768.
G1768.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
I am fine. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Jazakumullah for coming to the mic. And we are going to now go through the next example, which is this third one over here. Now, in the Holy Quran, this is how we are going to find the example. And can you point out to me where the Alif Zaida is?
It's at the end, the red colored one.
Yes, the Alif colored in red is the Alif Zaida. Excellent, good, well done. So this tells us that we must not pronounce it whilst reciting this word. Okay, so this is how we are going to read the word. So let's follow after me. We're going to say,
Because it doesn't have any it doesn't mark us or anything.
yeah, it doesn't have any stroke on it. Okay, now before we move on, can I just request that you're sitting in a nice and quiet place? So I can hear people in the background. So
Yes,
that's a bit disturbing.
my mother is doing her is teaching her Quran class.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Are you able to go anywhere quieter?
Can I go to my bedroom and can you go to the bedroom?
Yeah, you go to your bedroom and then we'll unmute you again in a bit, okay? So just get comfortable and then we'll unmute you again. In the meantime, if
I'm here.
you're here, okay, that's fine. So we're going to read this as لن ندعو.
Lan nad'uwa. Excuse me, my brother came.
Okay, excellent. Well done. Okay, so we are going to, over here, we can see two noon. So we have noon sakin and we have a noon mushaddad. So this lam needs to join onto the noon mushaddad. And wherever we see a noon mushaddad, we know that we have to make a gunna sound. So wherever, as soon as we land on the noon mushaddad sound, we have to hold it for 2 counts. So we're going to say lan nad
Lan nad'uwa.
lan nad'uwa.
Lan nad'uwa.
Excellent. Well done. Now, if we're pausing after this word, the fatha will become a sukoon and we would read it as لن ندعو.
لن ندعو.
Okay, stretch the U for 2 counts, please. لن ندعو.
لن ندعو.
Excellent, good, well done. So one more time. لن ندعو.
لن ندعو.
Brilliant, well done, excellent. Let's move on to the next example. Over here, the alif zaida is again at the end of the word, and that indicates that we do not pronounce the alif zaida at the end. So this is how we would pronounce it. We would say وأن أتلو.
وأن أتلو.
Wow at the end. So وأن أتلو.
وأن أتلو.
Brilliant,
So-
well done.
So the blue color, the wow will change into the fatah.
Yeah, so you can see that before the alif zaida, we have a waw with a fatha. So that will remain, but the alif afterwards, which was over here, has been removed. So the only difference between this and this is that the alif zaida has been removed. Okay, so we are just going to read it as a waw with a fatha at the end. Wa an atluwa.
وأن أتلو.
Luwa. It's a waw with a fatha. Okay, wa an atluwa.
وأن أتلو.
Okay, now do you see what's the last letter?
Wow.
Wow, yes. So we have to pronounce it as a wa.
Wow.
Yes. Wa an atlu wa.
وأن أتلو.
Okay, at the moment you're saying like an alif with a fatha. Yes,
Luwa.
luwa. Excellent. Good. Well done. Okay. And then if we're pausing at the end of this word, then this fatha will become a sukoon on top of the waw. And now we would read it as wa an atlu.
وأن أتلو.
Brilliant. Well done. Excellent. Really good recitation. Just keep practicing. And inshallah, that will help to improve your recitation as well.
Thank you.
Jazakumullah. Let's have another student, please.
G1584.
1584. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you today?
I'm good. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Jazakumullah for asking. So we are going to now cover the next next example. So in the Holy Quran, this is how you would find the example written. And because this alif over here at the end is highlighted in red for the purpose of this exercise, then we know that this is an alif zaida and we must not pronounce it. So the correct pronunciation of this word would be like this. Okay, so we are going to read it as Ribal yarbuwa.
Yarbuwa.
Brilliant, well done. Now again over here, the rule of idgham kamil is being practiced over here because we have a fathatain and followed by a lam mushaddad. So when we're pronouncing this, we have to only pronounce it with the one fatha, which joins to the lam mushaddad. Balli.
Balli.
Yeah, brilliant. So no nasal sound is being pronounced over here. Riballi yarbuwa.
Yarbuwa.
Brilliant, excellent. Now, if we're pausing after this word, we would pronounce it as this, written like this, and where the fatha on the waw has now become a sukoon. So we are going to read it as Riballi yarbu.
Yarbu.
Excellent, good, well done. Let's move on to the next example over here. Now, this is the next example found in the Holy Quran. This is in chapter 47, verse 5. So all these examples, the references for these can be found in this last column over here. If you want to have a look at what they look in the Holy Quran, what they look like in the Holy Quran, you can always turn and look at these references. Okay, so we are going to ignore the alif zaida, which is found at the end of the word in this case. So we are going to read it like this. We are going to say, وَلَكِنْ لِيَبْلُوَ.
ولكن يبلو
يَبْلُوَ.
يبلو
Excellent. وَلَكِنْ لِيَبْلُوَ.
ولكن ليبلو.
Good. When you say this ba sakin, inshallah, you will learn this rule further on in your in classes and inshallah in future courses as well. That this over here with the ba sakin just produce a bouncing sound. Okay. Yabluwa.
يبلو.
Brilliant. Well done. Now, if we're pausing after this word, and this fatha will become a sukoon, so we would read it as وَلَكِنْ لِيَبْلُوا.
ولكن ليبلو.
Excellent. Good. Well done. Really nicely read. Let's do one more example. Over here, this is the next example that we can find in the Holy Quran, where we can see that alif zaida is present. So we have to remove it from our pronunciation and pronounce it like this. So we are going to say وَنَبْلُوَ.
ونبلو.
Brilliant. Well done. And when you're pausing after this word, it would be وَنَبْلُو.
ونبلو.
Excellent. Good. Well done. Excellent. Jazakumullah for coming to the mic. If we can have another student, please.
Yes, G1322.
G1322. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Jazakumullah for asking. We are going to go through the next few examples. And this is the next example where my hand is. And we can see that this is an example from the Holy Quran. And then we have alif zaida at the end. And this example in particular is found at the end of a verse. So this circle over here with the verse number written at the in the middle of it indicates that this is the end of the verse. So this is an example that we're going to look at today, in which we are going to ignore the alif zaida in our recitation. So this is how we would pronounce it. You would say qawarira,
Qawarira.
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 Excellent. Good. Well done. Now, if we're pausing, there's two ways we could read it. Okay, and both of those ways that we can read it are written over here. So let's go through both of them. So either we could read it where the fatha will turn into a sukoon. So we would say qawarir.
Qawarir.
Good. And then we have the next example where if we're pausing, we could read it as qawarira.
Qawarira.
Good, well done. So this is a special example from the Holy Quran where both of these ways to read it when you're pausing would be correct. Okay, so you could choose either way to read it. So let's move on to the next example. Now over here, this is a similar example to the top, but this would be found in the middle of the verse. So again, this is qawa. So over here, alif zaida is found at the end. So we read it as qawarira.
Qawarira.
Good. And in this instance, there's only one way to read this. If we're pausing, it would be qawarir.
Qawarir.
Good. Well done. Because this example is found in the middle of a verse, there's only one way to read it correctly, which would be like this, which we've just covered. Okay, so that's something just to keep in mind. And then the last example from this exercise is this one over here. And the alif zaida is, can you point it out where that is?
Just right after the dal.
Yes, after the dal, we have an alif, which is highlighted in red for us. So this is how we would read it. The alif would have been removed from our recitation. It will be Thamuda.
Samuda.
Good. This letter is Tha.
Sa.
Good. Samuda.
Samuda.
Brilliant. Now, if you're stopping, this fatha on the dal will become a sukoon. So, Samud,
Samud.
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 Good. Well done. Excellent. Well done, Jazakumullah, G1322, for coming to the mic. Allah Hafiz for now. So that was exercise 21.1, in which we have had a look at 10 examples from the Holy Quran, in which the rule of Alif Zaida at the end of a word is being practiced. So if you would like, you can always go to the Holy Quran, open up these references that are at the end, where at the end column, and you can always find those and have a look at what they look like in the Holy Quran, and then try and pronounce them correctly. Okay, but always keep that in mind, that wherever you see an alif before after a maftu letter, and it may be indicated with the cross on top, or in the margin it will be written alif zaida, then to be careful to not pronounce that. So that was exercise 22.1, and inshallah you will carry on with this this exercise, this lesson in Thursday's class. So now what we're going to do and what we're going to move on to is our next part of today's class, in which we are going to look at the correct pronunciation of Surah Al-Kawthar. Now, Surah Al-Kawthar is a Meccan surah, which means that it was revealed to the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the holy city of Mecca. And this surah in particular is found in part number 30. Which is the last part of the Holy Quran. It has this is chapter number 108, and the Holy Quran has 114 chapters, so it's one of the last few surahs of the Holy Quran. There is a total of 7 verses in this surah, 1 ruku, and it was the 15th surah to be revealed to the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So those were just a few key facts about this surah that you may want to remember as well. Now, this surah, I'm sure that everyone that has joined this class today knows off by heart. Okay, it's one of those surahs that is probably one of the first few surahs that we start learning as children, and it's taught to us, which is really, really good. And we should try and memorize as many surahs from the Holy Quran as possible. But sometimes what happens is with surahs that we are very familiar with, we can sometimes become lenient, or we can become kind of relaxed with. So we sometimes don't pronounce them in the way that they should be pronounced. So that's why it's really important that with any surah, we have it in front of us, we go through it carefully and in detail to make sure that we are pronouncing each and every part of the surah correctly and applying all the rules that we have learnt in our course so far. Okay, so we're going to go through this surah. I'm going to read it once by myself, and I'd like you all to please pay attention to how I'm reciting it. And then, inshallah, we'll have students to the mic to recite the surah with me as well. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. So it's a short surah that we can go over in today's class, and we'll have students on the mic now to make sure that everyone's reciting this correctly. Okay, so if you could have a student to the mic, please.
G1749.
Jazakumullah. G1749.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Now, do you know this surah off by heart?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, brilliant. That's really good. But make sure that when you're reading it now with me, you're looking at your screen properly and making
Okay.
sure we're pronouncing it correctly, okay? So let's start with Dawood and Tasmiyah. If you could start with Dawood and Tasmiyah, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Good, well done. Now let's do the second verse together. Inna a'tainakal kawthar.
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر.
Good, well done, excellent. Now just two things over here in this verse in particular. The first thing is the noon mushaddad. So noon mushaddad, wherever we see it, we have to spend 2 counts on the gunna sound. Okay, so inna.
إنا
Good. And then after we've made that nasal sound, that's when we are going to then elongate for 3 counts at least for the mad saghir that's on top. So let's try that again. Inna.
إن إنا
Good. Well done. Elongate for a bit longer for the mad saghir, please. Inna.
إن
Good. Well done. That's really good. So that's something to be careful of. And then the second thing I want you to focus on is the pronunciation of the letter ta. Now, this is a thick, heavy sounding letter. So we need to give it that correct pronunciation. Toi.
طي
Good. Well done. Rather than pronouncing it like a simple ta, we have to pronounce it as a ta. Toi.
طي
Good, well done. Okay, so those were just 2 things that I need you to be careful of when reciting this. Let's move on to the next verse. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ.
وَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ.
Good, well done, excellent. And then إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ.
إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ.
Good, excellent. So this noon mushaddad, again, we have to make that nasal sound, which you did brilliantly, for 2 counts, okay, with the nasal sound. And then over here, you did good to pronounce the hamza correctly. So sometimes what happens is a lot of times students pronounce the noon and the hamza together, and it then sounds like a ya. So sometimes I've heard students say niyaka. So because they're kind of saying the hamza along with the noon. So we need to be careful. The noon needs to be pronounced separately, the hamza separately. Ni'aka.
نِئَكَ.
Good, well done. Now over here, when you are joining the alif to this ba sakin, try and make a bouncing sound. Inshallah, you will learn as you go on in your studies, you will learn why that is. But for now, just know that it's going to make a bouncing sound. Ab. Can you say that for me? Ab.
Yes. أب.
Good. Abtar.
أبتر.
Good, well done. So all together, Inna shani'aka huwal abtar.
إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ.
Abtar.
أبتر.
Good, well done. Excellent, mashallah. Really good recitation. Jazakumullah for doing that for us. Allah Hafiz for now. If we could have another student, please.
Yes, G1 308.
308. Assalamu alaikum. G1 308.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. Jazakumullah for asking. We are going to go through this surah again. So If you could start with Dawood and Tasmiya nice and slowly for me, please.
Yes. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Good, well done. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر.
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر.
Good, well done. Now, were you listening to the student that read before you?
Yes.
Yeah? So, two things I said to him that I'll say to you as well. The noon mushaddad needs to be pronounced for 2 counts because of the gunna sound. Yes? Wherever we see a noon mushaddad or neem mushaddad, we have to pronounce that sound and hold that sound of the noon or the meme for 2 counts. So that's one thing. And then this letter ta, it's a thick, heavy sounding letter. So whenever we say this, we need to say it with a heavy sound, and our mouth should be rounded. So, inna a'tayna
إنا أعطيناك
kal-kawthar.
الكوثر.
Good, well done, excellent. So that's 2 things I need you to be careful of over here. Okay, now let's do the next verse. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ.
فصل لربك وانحر.
Good, excellent. One more time, please.
فصل لربك وانحر.
Excellent. Try and say it nice and slowly, okay? فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ.
فصل لربك وانحر.
Excellent, good. And then the last verse is إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ.
إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
Good, well done. Now, as I was saying to the previous student, over here, the noon and the hamza are separate. Yes, we can see that noon has a kasra and the hamza has a fatha. So when we say it, do not merge the 2 sounds together. So that's a common mistake that we need to avoid. Okay, so ni and then a. Inna shani'aka.
إن شانئك
Good. Huwal abtar.
هو الأبتر.
Good. So do that verse again, please, for me.
إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
Brilliant. That was really, really good, mashallah. Okay, so just keep in mind all those points that I've just said. So in this second verse, the noon mushaddad equals a noon gunna sound. This noon gunna sound is repeated over here as well. Remember the sound of the ta, that needs to be thick and heavy. And then remember this noon with the kasra, hamza with the fatha needs to be pronounced soft. And we need to be careful to not merge those sounds together. Okay, but well done, excellent, really good recitation. Jazakumullah. Allah Hafiz for now. We could have another student, please.
Yes, G1 457.
Assalamu alaikum, 457. G1 457. Can you hear me? Assalamu alaikum. Are they unmuted? If not, we can choose another student.
Okay,
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Is that G1 457?
Yes.
All right, brilliant. Jazakumullah for coming to the mic. I'd like you to please start with Dawood and Tasmiya. Okay, now nice and slowly for me. Okay, so let's try that again. Repeat after me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Yep.
Turn share between two.
Okay, G1457. Can you make sure you're sitting in a nice and quiet place?
أعوذ بالشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay, good. Well done. Okay, but we're just going to say that nice and slowly, okay? So you read it nicely, but it was really fast. So wherever we're reading Tawud and Tasmiyah, we need to give it a good amount of time. We need to read it with nice and slowly. So just repeat after me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Much, much better. See how beautiful that was when you read it nice and slowly, okay? Well done. Let's go into the next verse. Follow with me. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر.
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر.
Good, well done, excellent. Now, I want you to focus on this first bit, okay? The noon has a shadda on it, which means that we have to make a nasal sound. So we're going to say inna.
Inna.
Good. And then we are going to elongate for at least 3 counts for the mad as-saghir. So inna.
Inna.
Brilliant, well done, excellent. أعطينا.
أعطينا.
Good. Now with this sound over here, try and make a thick sound. أعطينا.
أعطينا.
طي.
طي.
Okay, at the moment you're saying they. So I want you to say طي.
طي.
Better. Well done. أعطينا.
أعطينا.
Okay, good. Just keep practicing that ba sound. It's a thick, heavy sounding letter that we need to give. We need to round our mouth when we say it. أعطينا.
أعطينا.
كالكوثر.
كالكوثر.
Good, well done. Okay, now I want you to keep practicing this ba sound. Okay, so after class, make sure that you repeat this letter ba. Can you say that for me? Ba. Good. Okay, so just keep practicing that so that you can then apply it when you're reciting. So let's move on to the next verse. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ.
فصل لربك وانحر.
Good. إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ.
إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
Good, well done. But over here, remember this kaf has a fatha, so we need to only stretch for 1 count, so no longer than that. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar.
إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
Good, well done. Okay, so those are the few things that you need to be careful of. So wherever we see a noon mushaddad, we need to stretch that sound of the noon gunna for 2 counts. So you can see over here as well, the noon gunna sound needs to be applied. And then we have some thick sounding letters. For example, this ta over here needs to be said with a thick and heavy sound. And then, for example, this kaf over here has a fatha, so only 1 count timing for this as well. Okay, so just be careful of those few points, and inshallah, your recitation will get better. Okay. Jazakumullah. Allah Hafiz for now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to again say this surah once again, and I want you all to at home, even though we won't have a student on the mic now, but I want you all to follow with me. Okay? So أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Okay, so I hope you're all following along with me. Okay, so after every verse, I'm just going to take a pause so that you can all follow. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. Okay, so that was Surah Al-Kawthar, and I hope you've all read behind me as I was reading it. And please ensure that after class you open the Holy Quran, go to Surah Al-Kawthar in the Holy Quran and try and practice this surah, keeping in mind all the points that we've discussed today. Okay, so your homework for today's class is as follows. We'd like you to please focus on the exercise that we completed in today's class, which was exercise 22.1 on page 88 on miscellaneous rules. And let me show you that once again. So this was exercise 22.1. So we'd like you to please go through all these 10 examples that we've covered, read them how you would read them in continuity, and also how you would read them when pausing after that particular word. Okay, so we'd like you to please practice both of these examples and in all the 10 examples that are present in this exercise 22.1. Okay, so that's your homework. And just a quick reminder as well about tomorrow's class. As I mentioned, in tomorrow's class we'll be having a Jalsa Siratul Nabi, inshallah, and we'll be having a quiz. So please ensure that you practice all the questions that can be found on the Google Drive link that was sent earlier in class, and you can access all the questions there. Also, those students who are selected for any of the Jalsa categories, so if you are reading Tilawat tomorrow, or if you are reading Nazm tomorrow, or doing a speech, reading Qasida, etc., then you should have all received an email from us, from our department, and we request that you please join a bit early tomorrow before class so that we can have a small rehearsal to make sure that you're all ready for your segments. Okay, so tomorrow is Jalsa Siratul Nabi, and I'd like you all to please join on time. But if you are taking part in any of the categories that were listed last week, so Tilawat, Nazm, etc., then please arrive early, as we have mentioned in the email that you should have all received as well. Jazakumullah. So we'll end today's class with our final prayer. So if you could have a student on the mic, please.
G1 516.
G1 516.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Okay, so we're going to start with Dawood. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Good. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Excellent. Allahumma arhamni.
Can I recite it myself?
Yep, okay.
اللهم ارحمني بالقرآن العظيم.
Okay, good. Now with this ni, with the ya mad, we need to pronounce for 2 counts. Okay, so be careful to elongate that for 2 counts. Allahumma arhamni
اللهم ارحمني
بالقرآن العظيم.
بالقرآن العظيم.
Excellent. And the translation?
Oh Allah, have mercy on me through the Quran the Great.
Brilliant. Well done. Really nicely read. Jazakumullah. And Jazakumullah to everyone for joining us in today's class. Please join us for tomorrow's class where we'll be having a Siratul Nabi Jalsa.
I have a question.
Yes.
When we do the Surat al-Nabi Jalsa, can we write the answers down for the question?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to write down the questions beforehand, that's fine as well. Or you can just read the answers and keep that in your mind, ready for the quiz, whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Jazakumullah, everyone. Inshallah, see you all same time tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.